Welcome to the recording of the Confined but Free talk, given by Bosco Gutierrez-Cortina. In this talk, Bosco shares his story and gives practical advice on living in these stay-at-home times. Though intended especially for high school and university students, others may benefit from it as well. It was originally recorded before a virtual audience of over 175 people on May 12, 2020. We had participants join us from across Canada and around the world, including Rome, Israel, Mexico, and Honduras. We're very pleased that so many people were able to participate. This talk is brought to you by Hawthorne School for Girls. For those of you unfamiliar with Hawthorne, we are an independent all-girls school in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. As our mission states, we work closely with parents in shaping the leaders of tomorrow. The program for this talk consisted of two sections. This first part was the talk by our speaker, and the second is a Q&A portion. Now, I would like to turn you over to our school head, Dr. Regina Gutierrez-Cortina, to introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon, Bosco and everyone. I am happy to introduce you to Bosco Gutierrez-Cortina, my brother, an international acclaimed Mexican architect and speaker. One of his notable works of architecture is the World Trade Center in Mexico City. He is married to Gabi, and they have 9 children and several grandchildren. He was kidnapped 3 decades ago and kept in solitary confinement in a 1.5 by 2 meter cell with no windows for a total of 257 days, approximately 9 months. With a lot of prayers, both his own and from many other people, including Blessed Alvaro del Portillo, whose feast day is today, he was able to rediscover the meaning of his dignity as a person, as a child of God, what is true freedom. He strengthened his faith and ideals during his captivity. His love for his family gave him the necessary strength to carry on and keep up the struggle. His experience of perseverance shows us how willpower and faith can help us overcome any situation. Today is actually the 29th anniversary of his escape, so we give thanks to God. Thank you very much, Bosco, for sharing your experience again and for being here with us this afternoon. We will now turn this over to Bosco. Much Bosco, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for so much of so many people hearing me this story. I'm going to be real quick in terms of my description of what happened, and then afterwards I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may ask. I was kidnapped 30 years ago. This was in August 1990, and at that time I was held in a very, very small space. Actually, it's 1 meter by 3, actually. And obviously, the first days were very, very difficult for me to understand what was going on. You don't know. I was a regular architect with a regular family. I mean, nothing new about it. And suddenly, I was in Mass this Wednesday. And when I went out of Mass, some people came behind me and grabbed me by the back. And suddenly another hand with a gun hit me in my mouth. Then I understood I was in a problem. They captured me and they took me along with them. I was in a very, very small room, kept all dark, all naked. They took all my clothing away, and I was totally naked for the first days. Well, actually, for 4 months, actually, I was naked. I didn't know this was going to be a 9-month experience. Obviously, I thought it was going to be for days only. The first days probably were the most difficult days, because the other thing that happened is that I was requested to answer some questions from the kidnappers. And these questions were nothing to do with the money of the ransom, because I believe this was a ransom kidnap. My father was an important entrepreneur. But they started asking things about Gabby, my wife, about her routine, where does she used to go to work, where does she goes to the supermarket, the name of my children, the name of my pet, the name of the person that worked for us in the family. I mean, things too personal to answer to these people. But even though I had to answer, and I did, and after I answered those questions, I felt myself as a traitor. My auto-esteem was up on the ground, and I wanted just to forget all about it, and I decided to forget about fighting. So I went into a very, very deep depression. I just dropped myself in the floor, let myself go, stop eating, start to doing all my necessary things on the floor. I was naked, very, very bad things. I spent about 16 days in this big depression. And I think that the guards, when they saw me, because I was these people thought I was gonna die because I was in a very bad situation for the first 16 days. And so one of the guards decided to give me a drink, and they offered me a drink. They never spoke to me. I have to say that I was being guarded by 5 people. All they were like masks all over her faces. I didn't saw a face during those 9 months. I never heard a voice. Everything, their communications to me were written, were on writing. I didn't, and as I said, they never spoke to me. So one of the guards came to me and showed me a piece of paper that said, "Today is 15th of September, and you have to." That was the independence of Mexico, and they said, "15th of September, Viva Mexico, and today you can drink whatever you want." I just went like that with my shoulders, saying, "I mean, what the heck with that anniversary?" And but I said, "Okay, give me a whiskey, a scotch." By that time, I like to drink scotch sometimes, and I thought it could be a good idea to have a scotch just to purify my mouth, change the smell of the room, which was very bad. And so I said, "Okay, if you can give me a tall glass with scotch straight to the top with only one ice." No. I started to think about the thing to become true, because this could be probably a bad joke about these people offering me that drink. But finally, after about 3 hours, there was this drink on the window. I found out that I could not walk. I was in the floor. I was paralyzed on my legs, and so I crawled to the end of the floor, just grabbing that beautiful glass of whiskey. And I finally took the whiskey and grabbed it with me and took it to the backside of the room. At that time, I said, "Well, this drink, I'm going to have to enjoy it minute by minute, because this is a wonderful thing I have. I'm going to relax myself. Probably I'm going to be a little bit drunk, but I need it because I'm really now in a big depression." And I started like to pass the drink and smell it and pass it through my face. And suddenly I heard my conscience, I think was God's words, but I heard inside of my head a word saying, "Offer me the whiskey, offer me the whiskey." I said, "God, please don't ask me that. I can offer you being kidnapped." And he said to me, "That doesn't depend on you. That's not upon you. I mean, this depends on you. Whether you drink it or not, that's your decision. The kidnap is not your decision. Okay, I offer you not seeing my sons and not seeing my family. That's not up to you. This is up to you. You can offer me drink. This is only one of the few things you can offer me because that's up to you. So without hearing that insinuation more in my head, I just kneel in my covering the camera behind me, and I dropped the whiskey in the toilet. After that, I just fell in a long sleep, the nap. And after getting up from that nap, I realized that I felt myself a little better. I realized that after all, that made me feel free again. And I wrote in a piece of paper, whiskey flush. That's how I named that particular experience. And I said, today I found out that I'm still free because I could offer something to God. I decided that day that at the end, I worth something, I could do something worthily, and I started to fight again for my life. And so I said, I request to my kidnappers to give me a letter from my parents, from my family. Obviously, they said no. And so I said, okay, it's not much different what my family would say to me in a letter right now, if they could get me a letter, or what I would write to my kidnapped brother if I am the one outside and they let me write him a letter. So I wrote a letter thinking that I was outside and thinking that my brother was the one inside. And after reading that, I wait for some minutes. I pray my first rosary because by that time I didn't have the discipline to pray. And that day I decided to pray a rosary. And after that, I read the letter just if I was reading to me. So I took the letter, and it said something very important at that time that was very logic, that said, brother, dear brother, I can tell you that you are not kidnapped alone. All the family is being kidnapped. This is not a personal problem. This is a family problem, and we're going to solve it all together. So your oldest brother is dealing with the money. The other brother is taking care of your family, helping you along. The other one is taking care of your father. The other one is doing that and that and that. And I put roles of work for all the family. I have a big family. Thankfully, we are 14 brothers. And so I had tasks for everybody on the family that could probably pretty much be happening outside. And then it said something very important. You, Bosco, are the most important element in our team because you are the one we all care about right now. And so if you want to do what you mean in the team, you have to be in perfect shape. We don't want you just okay when you come back. We want you in perfect condition. Because if you don't come in perfect condition, you then commit treason to the family. Everything that meant treason to me that time, after what I felt when I answered the questions of the interrogatory, then I decided I'd do anything but not make treason to my family. And so I said, this is logic. This is pretty much what is happening outside. I bet Gabby is concerned about my health. My parents, they don't know how I am, so I'm going to work for them. Right now, I cannot decide by myself because I'm part of a team and I have to be in perfect conditions. So I decided to put myself to work in a plan to be in perfect conditions. And I divided the task in 3 parts. One is mental health, how to be in mental health. The other one, how to be in physical health. And the third one is do something with your time. That is gold in any situation. All these 3 things are very important right now in the pandemic conditions of our confinement. And I've been talking many people around me, my friends, about this situation that is similar. And so please, when I'm talking about my kidnap, think about your confinement, your condition right now, and you're going to find some ideas on how to deal with these difficult parts of our lives. So I say, okay, first, mental health, how to be in mental health. So number 1, make the faith reborn again in your heart. I mean, and what I'm saying is that sometimes the faith that we have, so all the what we have received of faith along our years, probably is a consequence about the education from your parents, or probably you have probably hear it in school, or probably you have been picking up that from other friends. But there are some times in life when you have to throw all that away and start making it yours, and start saying, okay, Bosco, what do you believe today? Do you believe in God? Really, do you believe in God? And are you consequent to that belief? So I answered yes at that time. And I said, okay, I said I believe in God because it's logical to me, because I don't believe in a piece of architecture without architect. And I don't believe in a book without a writer. And I don't believe in the universe being as the consequence of a big explosion. I only believe that there must be somebody, which is God, that created heaven and earth. And from that time, then I said, okay, from now on, for the rest of your life, you believe in God, and you decide to believe in God, and you decide to be consequent to that belief. And that I started then to get deep on that belief and say, okay, if it's God, and God is my Father, and my Father loves me more than I love my children, even in these circumstances, and He's almighty, powerful, and He could probably could have avoided the kidnap, and He did not avoid the kidnap. Why? Because He knows better than me the things that are good for me at the end. And I didn't know anything. I didn't see anything more than 1 meter by 3 meters that I was living in. But God has the view of eternity, and He was probably looking to this conversation with you today, 30 years after. So at that time, I decided, okay, God, I don't see enough. I have a very, very, very limited vision right now. I see only 1 by 3. You see all my life ahead, and you know better than me what's better for me. So I better put my car in your hands and let you drive for me, because I rather you drive for me than I take the wheel myself without the vision that I don't have. So sometimes in life, you don't have the vision, and you have the knowledge to decide what's better for you, and it's better to let God drive for you and be confident that He's your Father. He always is looking for your better situation. He loves you more than everything, and He will be taking you to a better place of that what you decide. So that was very, very important for me mentally, to be calm. The other thing mentally about mental health, was get rid of anxiety. The anxiety is a very bad thing in your heart. It's a very bad thing in your soul. Don't let you work. The anxiety don't let you be happy. Don't let you do good things for the rest of the people. You have to be free yourself from anxiety as much as you can. And I remember a friend of my father, that he was a very intelligent man, that he used to say that one of the signs of being intelligent, one of the characteristics of intelligent people, is the speed that the intelligence have to adapt to the circumstances. The faster you adapt to the circumstances, the intelligent you are. And I wanted to be intelligent. I didn't want to be a fool person. I want to be intelligent. And because I want to be intelligent, I want to adapt myself to the circumstances. So I said, okay, what is your circumstances? Okay, I am kidnapped. Okay, repeat yourself. I'm kidnapped, I'm kidnapped, I am kidnapped. What's happening to you? Are they cutting your hands? Are they cutting your fingers? No, I'm okay. I'm naked, but I'm okay. Okay, don't exaggerate your situation. It's gonna be a very good story for your life, and live without it, and just understanding and adapt yourself to be kidnapped, and that's it. The other thing is Okay, why this room so small? Why 1 meter by 3? I am an architect. I measure things. This was exactly 1 meter by 3. And I remember all other kidnaps in other sides of the world, but they kept the people in bigger spaces. I said, why so small? Okay, Bosco, this is what it is. You're not going to change it. It's like when you stay in front of the mirror every morning and say, Bosco, this is what it is. I want to be tall. I want to be, not say younger. I want to be that and that. This is what it is. And I have to live with that, and you have to realize that this is what it is. You have to take things as they are. As Viktor Frankl says in a book that says, you cannot change the circumstances, but you can change your attitude to the circumstances. So you have to accept the things as they are. So take care of your room, clean your room, make it yours. And so I asked these kidnappers to give me some cleaning devices. I asked for a extra bucket of water. I had 1 bucket of water a day, which I used to have 1/3 of the bucket to drink, 1/3 of the bucket to wash myself, and 1/3 of the bucket to flush the toilet that I have. The toilet didn't have any water, so I had to flush it myself with a bucket. So I asked that day for a second bucket of water. I used it to clean my room, and after I cleaned my room, I felt less anxiety on my chest, and I felt free. And I said, okay, if you want to leave dirty from the room out, leave however you want to leave. From now on, my room is my room, and the architect Bosco Gutierrez comes back to this room, and this is my space, and I take care of my space. I clean my space, and I make it mine. And I start finding that I was in a better situation. Another thing that happened is that in physical health, I was a marathoner. I used to run marathons, and I knew exactly the diet to be healthy and to be in good state. So I asked them a diet to be easy for them to feed me and healthy. And they accepted, and they started giving me what I said. That was basically fruit 3 times a day, cereal in the morning, protein in lunch, and some yogurt for dinner. I mean, very, very limited diet for the limited energy that I waste there, because I wanted to be in good shape. And also exercise. I had to do a lot of exercise every day to be in shape. How do you do exercise without skipping the days of exercise? No, and how do you do it right now at home? Because you know that if you do exercise, you'll be in better health. So I decided to offer the exercise for the most valuable things that we have, and I realized that our really treasure, your treasure right now, and my treasure is our people. Your treasure is not your checking account, is not your house, is not your goods that you have. The treasure, the true treasure of people is the people we have around. Is your family, is your wife, is my children, is my brothers. Those are my treasure. So I realized I took a piece of paper that I had, and I wrote 80 names of people that were my treasure at that time, that were people that I was sure they were with me, praying with me for this same situation. And I used to pray, I used to run in a steady run, in one place run, like lifting up my knees very hard in the same spot. I used to do that, praying the pray for San Jose Maria Escrivá de Balaguer, which is a yellow card. Remember the yellow card we used to pray for the Father Jose Maria Escrivá. And I knew that prayer with Our Father, Hail Mary, and Holy, that's about 1 minute. All that prayer within the prayers that you do is 1 minute. So I used to do that prayer for every one of my treasures. That was 80 treasures, 80 people that I love, and 80 people that I used to go with them that minute a day. That obviously I but doing that, I never skipped exercise. I did it every day after the depression, and I was in a very, very good situation. After that, I decided, I recall my mother. My mother was already in heaven. She passed away about 3 years before my kidnap. And I remember my mother that when I was young, she used to recall me a dream that I said to her that I had when I was 12 years old. And I said, Mother, I had a dream that I was in hell. And she said, why? Why you were in hell? I don't know, Mother, but there was somebody in front of me yelling at me bad words, saying bad things about me. And I said to him, why are you yelling at me? Because, I mean, you and me are in hell. I mean, why are you yelling at me? And he said, because I'm in hell, because I acted bad in my life. And you are in hell because you didn't help anybody. If you would have helped me, we both be in heaven. When I said that to my mother, she said, Bosco, I am very happy that you had that dream because you discovered the true vocation of a Christian. Because a Christian is a coin that has two faces, she said. One face of the coin of the Christian is holiness, is being saint as much as you can. And the other side of the coin is apostolate. If you don't help others, you don't get to heaven. There's no holy people without apostle work. So I recall that dream when I was kidnapped, and I said, I don't want to die and find the kidnapper in hell yelling at me, saying, Bosco, we are here in hell because we were kidnappers, we were very bad people. But you are here because you only fight. You should have told us about God in your kidnap. God wanted us to kidnap you because you're supposed to give us the word of God, and you didn't say anything. After thinking that, obviously you probably understand, I didn't have a choice. Once you think about that, you don't have a choice. And so I said, okay, I have to apostolate the kidnappers. How do I talk to God, the kidnappers? And I remember in the book of the way, of Camino, the way of Jose Maria Escrivá, there's a saying that is very good that says, in any work in this, in your life, three important steps. The first step is pray. The second phase is do sacrifices, offer things. And the third thing, and it says, and in a very third place is action. So I say, okay, October is going to be pray for the kidnappers. So I started to pray an extra 3 parts of the rosary. I used to pray 3 parts of the rosary in the morning for my family, 3 parts of the rosary at noon for myself, and 3 parts of the rosary in the afternoon for the kidnappers. I started praying that. Okay, November, it came out, and I started offering things. So I asked the kidnappers not to give me sugar in the meals, not to give me salt, and not to give me any sodas, just give me plain water for the kidnappers, for the Holy Spirit to work in their souls. Finally, when it came December, I find out myself that it was already Christmas. I cried because I never thought I wanted to spend too much time kidnapped, and I never expected to spend Christmas if I was kidnapped in August. But finally I was there, and it was Christmas. So, okay, I said, today is the day, and I wrote a paper and said, dear guardians, today is Christmas, and today they're not kidnappers or kidnapped. We are all sons of God, and we are going to pray together at 8 o'clock. I put the papers underneath the door, and suddenly they're 8 o'clock because I didn't know the time exactly. I did not have a clock, and I didn't have the control of the time. But eventually they opened the door, and there were these 5 people outside the window cross by their hands without saying a word. One wrote in a paper and said, okay, let's start praying. So I read the Gospel of St. Luke of that Christmas day, and they stood there without moving. This was like a magical moment. Then I started talking about what should be happening in my family during Christmas, how we lived that day, how my mother showed us how to adore the little God child, and so on. Nobody moved. And then I decided, and I said, I'm going to pray one Holy Father and 10 Hail Marys for our families. I prayed myself. I answered myself. They never answered. And finally, they, after the prayer, they came one by one and shake me their hand with a very emotional eyes, no, crying eyes. I was very, very happy, obviously. Probably was my most happy Christmas in my life. I was free of any material things, naked, literally naked, working for my father in that special situation. After about a week, there was a little paper that was some of the kidnappers just put underneath the door saying, Bosco, where is the source of your strength? Then I asked him through the camera to come. He came and I said, you know, Tecate was his name, TKT. I said, Tecate, I'm not afraid. And I'm not afraid because I'm not gonna die 1 minute after or 1 minute before of what God permits and not what you decide. And I truly thought about it. And I was at that time that I probably missed when I put myself into prayer, and I was the reception of many, many people praying for me. And I really conquered the total confidence by feeling that I was in God's hands, and I was very, very secure in God's hands. And so that's something to remember. Then March, it came January, February, and in March there was this holy week. I was very, very prepared in that holy week. And that holy week, I remember that I cried a lot when Tecate got for me a crucified a cross, no, with a crucifix. And I remember I said, how I do in the outside world not to cry every time I see a crucifix. And I understood that many of us have ourselves like we have lost the impression of seeing a crucifix. I mean, it's very, 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 very hard. I really cried when I saw Christ suffering too much on our behalf. And I said to him, Christ, help me to live saying thanks to you because you pay a ransom for me. I am kidnapped right now, and I'm going to be in totally appreciation with my family for the rescue they're going to pay for my life. But you also pay for my life. And you didn't pay for my life. It's going to last only for several years. You pay for my eternal life. And you didn't pay with money. You pay with your life. How much is your life? Obviously, this is full to think about it. But it makes me act in a different for the future. In the future, I cannot forget every day that we are just passing in this life, and estamos en deuda. How do you say? Estamos en deuda.
We owe debt. We have a debt.
We have a debt, no? And we have to live with that every day of our life. And those are two words I try to start my days every day in the morning when I wake up, and I kneel and I kiss the floor just to start my day. And I said, God, please see in the crucifix. And I said, don't let me forget every day those two basic things, that we are in debt and we are just passing. We don't put my heart in the things of this life. Let me put my heart in heaven, because that's where we belong. So after that very, very, very profound Holy Week, then things started to become a little better. And in May, they finally told me that my parents were ready to pay, and everything was set to be for them to get the money for the ransom by the 11th of May, which was yesterday. Today is 12. I have to tell you that during those 9 months, I prepared some things to be able to open the door from the inside. I was afraid for they to leave me behind without food, and I was totally dependent on the food they used to give me every day. And when you are in a cage like I was, and you depend on them to feed you, you suddenly become afraid of what happens if they don't come tomorrow and they'll let you die inside. So I decided to build an instrument that let me at least try to open the door from the inside in case I was left alone. And I used to do that for many, many months, and I had it with me already. So the 11th of May, when it came, because when I read the letter of instructions to my family to get ready with the money by the 11th, they had to move themselves. They were in Argentina, and the date of they had the instruction is that they had to be in Brazil by the 11th of May. So the 11th of May, they had to publish in the newspaper that they are ready to pay. So the 11th of May, I asked Tecate, my guardian, what happened with the newspaper. So he was very angry. He threw the newspaper to myself, and I went through the newspaper looking for the ad that I had instructed my family to put into the newspaper. That was the sale of an airplane, whatever. And so I see the ad, but instead of saying a confirmation, I read a cancellation, saying that it was impossible for them to go to Brazil because custom situation. Obviously, they had the money in Argentina. They could not cross the border to Brazil because the president of Brazil had put a law against paying ransoms in Brazil. That is an important law to avoid kidnaps in Brazil. So they couldn't do anything about it, and they canceled the situation. So I was very sad. Obviously, that 11th of May for me was very, very difficult because I finally thought I was going to be out, and suddenly I realized that again this was not happening. Next day, 12, was very important for me because it was the anniversary of my parents for marriage. My mother was in heaven, so I started saying, "Mother, you from heaven, please help me. Something has to happen. Please help me to get a quick solution of the situation, whatever." And that day I could not sleep. I was just sitting in top of the toilet, just looking black space in front of me, praying the rosary. I think I prayed more than 50 rosaries that night. And suddenly the guard turned his light on. And when he turned the light on, and when I was totally dark inside, and somebody turns the light outside, you have the ability to see at least the light around the door because your eyes are very spread out. And so I saw the light. And I heard that the guard outside my door stepped out for a minute. And suddenly I heard a shower in another bathroom. And I realized that the shower was the guard to replace the guard that slept outside me. So for some reason, because I built some routine of what the change of guard was, I realized I was alone for 10 minutes, and I decided, at the same time here in the shower, I decided to try the thing that I prepared to open the window from the inside. Then I put this wire underneath the door. I pulled the door. I put this other plastic thing I had prepared, and I opened the door. So that was emotional. I mean, when I opened the door, I say, God, I could open the door. I mean, I can't open in case they leave me alone here, let me behind. So, okay, that's it. Close the door, and that's it. Your experience is perfect. You have the instrument to open the door, and that's it. Then I closed the door and it opened. Close the door and it opened. Close the door and it opened. It was impossible to shut me inside again. It was impossible to close the door from the inside. This was a mechanical thing, a manual situation that had to be closed from the outside. Once open, it was impossible to close it from the inside. So I was trapped because they had threatened me saying, Bosco, if you ever open the window, you are dead. And so I said, once this guy from the shower comes back and sees that the door is open, I'm out. I mean, I'm a dead people. So I had no choice. I jumped through the window. I was in a perfect physical condition, but that time I already was dressed because, as I said, I spent 4 months naked, and then the 5 months after Christmas, they gave me some sweatpants and t-shirt, and I had a pair of slippers. So I jumped the window with that. I walked about 6 meters towards the light, and there was a light just near the floor, like 2 feet by 2 feet window, and there was a hole which they used to crawl through. So I went up to that hole, and I just put my head, and I saw the third room with a window open with beautiful flowers and light. So I said, okay, I prefer that. I remember that they used to turn on the lights every day at 10 a.m. because I had a watch. After Christmas, they gave me a watch that I could see the hour of the day. That cannot be seen in the night, but once I was out, I could see my watch, and it was 8:30 when I opened the window. And they used to turn me the light every day on at 10 o'clock. So I said, I have an hour and a half if I can probably walk through them. I knew that the house was full of kidnappers. They didn't let me alone. They were there in other rooms. So I said, okay, I'm going to go back to my room, close the window from the outside to erase all evidence of my escape. I closed the window from the outside. I came back. I crawled through that hole, and I stood up on the third room, and there was this guy in front of me, sleeping in front of me. I walked through a guy, just as I remember, like I was being transported. I don't know. I was very, very nervous, walking very carefully through that guy. I really truly understand that I believe deeply that if he heard something, he thought it was another kidnapper, because there were 5 people inside. And if you are sleeping outside your kidnapped guy and you hear something, you probably think it's another of your mates kidnappers, but you never think it's the victim, which is walking along with your bed. So I walk along with his bed. I jumped through the window and I crawled to the street. I opened the door from the inside, and I was in Puebla, in a street called 15 Oriente, 1803. And this is where I was kept. I saw the address and I started running. I took a cab. This cab couldn't take me. I took another cab. The second cab took me. And I finally got home the 12th of May. Obviously, this was a surprise for everybody, a surprise for Gabby. They never thought I was, I mean, there nothing planned, neither my side, neither the side. I mean, totally something very, very, very special. So this is it. And this is the story. I'm sorry about the time. I think I consumed most of the time, but I couldn't be, I wanted just to tell the story, and please go to the questions. One of the things, a very, very important thing that I discovered is that God is not far away from ourselves. God is inside us. And there's where we have to go back. And this confinement that we are right now gives us a great opportunity to go back to personal prayer that I think that people have forgotten. And if you decide to go there and start trying to hear God inside you and try to find yourself, your God inside yourself, you will find that you have a wonderful, you will find many, many solutions inside yourself, because God is our Father and He's inside of us. And I think that the people from the 21st century, one of the most important lacks that we have is the lack of prayer. And we have to promote the prayer, because there's when we find our answers. Just remember that He wants the best for you. He's a loving Father. He loves you more than you could ever imagine. And He's totally powerful, and he can do anything, and He will do anything for you because you are His son. Once you understand that, you probably don't see more than, I used to see 1 by 3. Right now we don't see probably 1 month in front of us, and there's a lot of questions about how's going to happen after that and whatever. Just remember that He knows everything. He's your Father. He always will permit the best things for yourself. Once you understand that, and once you abandon yourself in God's hands, you will understand that you are in the best hands you can ever imagine. And that's when you will recuperate your faith and your tranquility and your peace of mind. Go back to the recipe of Jose Maria Escrivá. 3 steps. First, pray for them. So pray for them before doing anything. Pray for them. This is very, very important. And secondly, offer things to them. Offer things. You personally have a lot of things to offer to the people you have to help. And number 3 is action. And the number 3 is action. You have phones. We have phones. We can call our friends. We can call them to see how they are, to be close of them, to understand them, to cheer them up. We decided to turn the book around. We knew that these people were more than 40 people involved. It was impossible for us to fight against a very big organization like that. And so my father, when I escaped, I went back to where I was kept. We found they were already gone. We recuperate some IDs from the guards, and instead of report them to the police, my father had a very good advice from the people from Control Risk, specialized in this type of situations, and they said, do a negotiation with these people, saying that if they don't bother you again in life, you will not pursue them. And so we did that. We just forget about it. We just pray for them and live our lives. And we have never had another threat during these 30 years. This is something you have to keep fighting. This is not a constant. Once you get in those, I mean, I remember very, very nice things of when I was totally abandoned in God's hands. And then I remember when I came back, I suddenly start to pick up my surface again and start dealing up with daily things about my work and whatever. And 10 years after my kidnap, I remember I was in a meeting, a very complicated meeting in my office. And my wife called me about 11 o'clock at night saying, hey, Bosco, what are you doing at 11 o'clock at your office? And I said, Gabby, we are in a problem here in the office. Please don't call me back. And I hung out the phone. When I came back home about 1 a.m. in the morning, I saw the light of the bedroom on, and I said, wow, I don't want a sermon right now. I just want to sleep. And I came into the bedroom with Gabby with a white flag saying, please, Gabby, I'm sorry. I never meant to hang you up, but I wasn't in a problem. And she said, no, 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 I'm not going to say anything to you. Just please, I want your attention for 1 minute. And he put a photograph of me being kidnapped, one of the proofs of life we received. And she said, you know, Bosco, this guy in the photograph has a little bigger problem of the one you have in your office right now. But look the peace in his eyes, and look the lack of peace that you have in yours. And the one thing I don't understand is we're talking about the same person. And one of the things I can tell you that this guy in the photograph is living, praying all day long, and you have forgot your prayers, and you are on surface again. So she blessed me and went to bed. This is something I want to recall, because people say, hey, Bosco, you are a very good person, you are a saint, whatever. No, we will be saints at the end of your life with the help of God. And we will be saints by fighting day by day. And obviously, I was in a very good condition. It's like the condition, it's like a physical condition. When you run, you are able to run a marathon. When you stop running, you are not able to run a marathon. I used to pray a lot. I was a prayer marathonist. Right now, I'm not a prayer marathonist. I have to go back to that. So this is the regular person that we are, that we have a good days, we have bad days, we have days that we pray very nice, another days that we forgot to pray. So what's my recommendation? Day by day, we have to fight. There's something I wrote in the wall of my kidnap saying, Nunc cepi, ahora comienzo. I begin today. I begin to fight today again. And that's something we have to remember. I mean, we can have bad days. We could have, God understands our weakness. He knows that we are childs in his hands. He understands the weakness that we have. We have to just, okay, I'm sorry, make me good, and let's start again tomorrow. And so that's the way to do it. I mean, start back again. 257 days. Unfortunately, there's no transactions right now. We have been working on that, but we haven't found that solution. We will do it. And if there's somebody who can help me to translate the book, I will be very happy to hear from any help.
Hawthorne School would like to thank Bosco for his timely and inspiring talk. We can apply so many of his experiences right now by accepting the present situation with hope, optimism, and good humor, by rediscovering our true freedom and the importance of both prayer and perseverance. We can take advantage of every opportunity we are given. We wish him all the best, and we hope that more people can get the opportunity to hear his amazing story. To our participants, thank you for joining us, and we hope that this session has given you useful insights. If you enjoyed listening to this talk, please consider sharing the link. Hawthorne School is committed to the education of girls from daycare to grade 12. It is our mission to work closely with parents in shaping the leaders of tomorrow. We provide a unique, well-rounded education that develops both character and intelligence, so that our students become confident women of integrity and faith committed to the betterment of society. We thank you again for taking the time to watch this video, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. To end this video, we would like to share with you some images which help to make Bosco's story more real. Please check out his Instagram, where he shares more about what he went through. Thank you.